You walk into a room and immediately feel like every pair of eyes is watching you, not in admiration, not with curiosity, but with silent judgment. Your body tenses, your heart rate spikes, and your mind floods with the same question it always does. What if I'm not enough? What if I say the wrong thing? What if I don't belong? This is not simply shyness. This is not introversion. This is the quiet, invisible war of social anxiety, a war fought silently in the mind, masked behind smiles, nods, and polite small talk. Social anxiety is not just fear of people. It's the fear of being seen, truly seen, and found lacking. It's the fear of exposure, of failure, of disconnection. And paradoxically, it often lives in the people who care the most. The ones who want to connect, who want to be understood, who want to contribute something real to the world. And yet, they are trapped in a loop of self-surveillance, constantly scanning for danger in every interaction. As the philosopher Soren Kierkegaard once said, anxiety is the dizziness of freedom. Social anxiety is the dizziness of being known. We begin to ask, why do some of us carry this invisible weight while others walk freely through the world? Is it trauma? Is it temperament? Is it the culture we were raised in? The answer is yes. It is all of these things braided together into a psychological knot. The socially anxious person is not broken. They are often hyper-aware, highly sensitive, and deeply reflective. They notice micro-expressions others miss. They feel the emotional temperature of a room. And this sensitivity, untrained and unhealed, turns inward, becoming self-criticism, fear, and paralysis. But what if we told you that this sensitivity is not a flaw, but a form of intelligence? What if we reframe social anxiety not as a disorder, but as a misunderstood gift, one that simply hasn't been integrated yet? You see, the mind of the socially anxious person is not defective. It is overactive. It simulates thousands of possible futures in every interaction. It replays past conversations with surgical detail. It's not that they don't know how to connect, it's that they care about connection too much. They want it to be safe, authentic, and meaningful. But the world doesn't always offer that. And so, they retreat. The root of social anxiety is often the fear of judgment. Not just from others, but from ourselves. The socially anxious person is their own harshest critic. They do not need external rejection to feel rejected. They do it preemptively, internally. They imagine every mistake before it happens. They punish themselves for words they never even said. They construct a mental courtroom and place themselves on trial every single day. But here's the twist. The judge, the jury, and the executioner are all within.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
That's why healing social anxiety is not just about exposure therapy or learning to fake confidence. It is about changing the relationship you have with yourself. It is about dismantling the inner critic and replacing it with the inner ally. It is about learning that the voice in your head that says you're not enough is not the voice of truth. It is the echo of past experiences, unhealed wounds, and internalized shame. As Carl Jung once wrote, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. This is where the real journey begins, not in the outer world, but within. The socially anxious person must become the philosopher of their own mind. They must begin to question the beliefs they've accepted without consent. Who told you that you had to be perfect to belong? Who taught you that mistakes make you unworthy? What part of you believes that being seen is dangerous? These are not surface-level questions. These are keys that unlock the chains of invisible suffering. And here we arrive at the first re-engagement moment, a mystical realization hidden in plain sight. What if social anxiety is a teacher? What if it is not here to punish you, but to wake you up. You see, the anxious mind is also the aware mind. And awareness, when turned inward with compassion, becomes insight. The socially anxious person has the potential to become one of the wisest people in any room, not because they talk the most, but because they feel the most. And that feeling, when embraced, becomes a superpower. But before it becomes a gift, it often feels like a curse. That is the paradox. The same sensitivity that makes social events overwhelming is the same sensitivity that makes you perceptive, thoughtful, and deeply empathetic. The same fear that keeps you quiet is the same concern that makes your words meaningful when you finally speak. The same overthinking that feels like a burden is the same cognitive ability that allows you to reflect, refine, and grow. It's not about removing the anxiety. It's about alchemizing it. Yet the path is not easy. The socially anxious person often lives with a kind of double consciousness. They are not only experiencing the moment, they are also observing themselves experiencing it. They are both actor and critic, participant and evaluator. This creates a split in the self, a fracture. And healing that fracture requires a radical act of self-acceptance. Not after the anxiety is gone, during. That is the true test. Can you love yourself while still feeling afraid? This brings us to a deeper question. What if the goal is not to eliminate fear, but to walk with it, to make space for it, to hold it like a child knocking on your door, rather than a monster to be slain? As the Stoic philosopher Seneca wrote, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. The socially anxious person suffers not just from real interactions, but from imagined ones. And that imagination can either be a prison or the birthplace of liberation, if we learn how to use it differently. Let's go even deeper. What is the self that feels anxious? Who is this I that fears being judged? When we strip away the stories, the memories, the identities, what remains? Is there a part of you that is untouched by opinion, beyond approval, immune to rejection? That is the part we must find. Because social anxiety cannot survive in the presence of the true self. It feeds on the false self, the mask, the performance, the persona. But the true self is unshakable. And perhaps this is the great philosophical invitation of social anxiety: to peel back the layers of performance and return to essence. To trade the exhausting need to appear confident for the quiet power of being real. To stop trying to impress and start trying to connect. To stop assuming what others think and start asking yourself what you think about you. This is not just psychology. It is ontological healing. It is the work of becoming. But let's not romanticize the struggle. Social anxiety hurts. It isolates. It steals opportunities. It makes even joy feel dangerous. But in that pain is a possibility, a hidden door. And on the other side of that door is not just relief, but revelation. The revelation that you were never broken. You were simply too awake in a world that taught you to sleep. So the question becomes, will you continue to shrink yourself to fit into a world that misunderstands you? Or will you begin the work of expanding into the truth of who you are, even if that truth trembles at first? What would it look like to walk into a room not asking, do they like me, but declaring, here I am, as I am? What would change if your goal in every conversation was not to be impressive, but to be present? The person with social anxiety is not seeking attention. They are seeking authenticity. They don't want to be liked, they want to be safe. But safety begins inside. It begins when you stop abandoning yourself in the name of being accepted. When you stop rehearsing rejection and start practicing presence. When you stop chasing perfection and start honoring progress. And that is the path. Not one of sudden transformation, but of subtle shifts. The moment you choose not to over-apologize, The moment you let the silence linger instead of rushing to fill it. The moment you speak even when your voice shakes. These are not small victories. These are revolutions. Because each moment you show up as you are, the false self dissolves a little more and the real you begins to emerge. Let us end this part with a quote from Nietzsche. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. What is your why for healing? What is the deeper truth you are willing to fight for, even when your heart races and your hands tremble? Find that reason, and the anxiety, while still present, will no longer have power over you. Healing from social anxiety is not a linear journey. It is cyclical, like the seasons. There are days when you speak freely, feel open, and experience real connection. And then there are days when you retreat, question everything, and wonder if you've made any progress at all. This too is part of the path. Growth is not the absence of fear, it is the willingness to keep showing up even when fear is present. The socially anxious mind wants certainty, but healing demands courage, not clarity. Let us now go deeper into the heart of what drives social anxiety: the fear of disconnection. At its core, social anxiety is not about people. It's about the loss of belonging. It's the fear that if you are truly seen, you will be rejected, that your real self is somehow unacceptable, and that to be loved, you must become someone else. This is the original wound, and it often begins early in life when we were shamed for being too sensitive, too loud, too quiet, too much, or not enough. From that moment on, a part of us decided it was safer to hide. But here's the radical truth: hiding never truly protects us. It only creates the illusion of safety. In reality, it separates us from others and, more dangerously, from ourselves. The socially anxious person doesn't just fear judgment from others, they fear their own self-judgment. Every social moment becomes a test, and they are both the test taker and the examiner. And the more they internalize this role, the more exhausting life becomes. But what if we could step out of that role altogether? Imagine walking through the world without the need to monitor yourself. Imagine being free from the inner commentator that critiques your every gesture, every word, every silence. What would remain? Presence, spaciousness, authenticity, and perhaps most importantly, peace. The socially anxious person craves peace, but they often seek it through perfection. Yet perfection is the enemy of peace. It is a moving target, a mirage. Real peace comes from permission. The permission to be messy, to be in process, to be human. Let's now revisit something powerful: the idea that social anxiety is not a weakness but a form of depth. The socially anxious person is often deeply introspective. They think before they speak. They care about impact. They feel the unspoken tensions in a room. And this depth, when supported by self-trust, becomes clarity. It becomes emotional intelligence. It becomes wisdom. As the philosopher Alan Watts said, the reason we suffer from anxiety is because we resist living in the present moment. When we stop resisting the now, we stop feeding the fear. But how do we do that in practical terms? Let's talk about tools. First, the breath. The breath is not just a biological function, it is a doorway. When anxiety arises, it pulls us into the future. What if I embarrass myself? What if they think I'm weird? The breath brings us back. Slowing down your breath slows down your thoughts. It reminds your nervous system that you are safe. And safety is the soil in which confidence grows. Second, the body. Social anxiety is not just in the mind, it lives in the body. Tension in the jaw, tightness in the chest, shaking hands. These are not signs of weakness. They are signals. Your body is talking to you. Are you listening? Instead of trying to suppress the symptoms, Ask what they're trying to say. I feel unsafe. I feel exposed. I need grounding. Respond to those needs not with shame, but with kindness. Put your hand on your heart. Feel your feet on the earth. Remind yourself, I am here. I am allowed to be here. Third, self-dialogue. The way we speak to ourselves determines the quality of our inner world. The socially anxious person often has an inner voice that is harsh, demanding, unforgiving. You would never speak to a child the way you speak to yourself. So begin to reparent that inner voice. Replace I'm so awkward with I'm learning to be seen. Replace I always mess up with I'm practicing presence. This is not toxic positivity. It is truthful reframing. It is the act of becoming your own ally. Now let's go even deeper. What if the fear of judgment is really the fear of being misunderstood? The socially anxious person doesn't just want to be liked, they want to be known. But being known requires vulnerability. And vulnerability feels like danger when you've been hurt before. So we armor up. We play roles. We wear masks. And then wonder why we still feel lonely. But loneliness is not the absence of people. It is the absence of authenticity. So here's the invitation. Drop the mask. Not all at once, not recklessly, but intentionally, slowly, in safe spaces, with people who have earned your trust. Show a little more of your real self, not to be validated, but to be free. Every time you do that, you send a signal to your nervous system. It's safe to be me. And over time, that signal becomes your new baseline. Let's pause and ask a deep question. Who are you without your anxiety? Not who you are when it's gone, but who you really are beneath it. Is it possible that the anxiety is not hiding your true self, but pointing toward it? That it's not the enemy, but the guide? That every moment of discomfort is a sacred invitation to return to yourself? As you begin to explore this, you may find that your anxiety becomes less intense. Not because it vanishes, but because it's no longer in charge. You become the observer, not the victim, the witness, not the prisoner. And in that shift, you reclaim your power. You begin to participate in life more fully. You stop calculating your worth based on others' reactions. You start valuing your presence, your voice, your truth. And then something strange happens. The world begins to reflect that change. People respond to your energy, not because you're performing confidence, but because you're embodying self-acceptance. Your relationships deepen. Your conversations become more real. Your sense of self becomes more stable. This is not magic. It is psychology. And it is philosophy. Because the way you think about yourself creates your reality. Let's end with something practical and profound. The practice of exposure with awareness. This means intentionally putting yourself in social situations, not to force yourself to be normal, but to observe yourself in those moments without judgment. Go to a small gathering. Say something in a meeting. Make eye contact with a stranger. Then reflect, not on what went wrong, but on what you learned. What did you feel? What did you fear? What did you survive? Each of these small acts becomes a vote for the real you, not the anxious you, the authentic you. And over time, those votes add up. They become identity, and that new identity is not defined by fear but by freedom. As Marcus Aurelius once said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That is the final truth. Social anxiety is real. It is painful. It is complex. But it is not permanent. You are not broken. You are becoming. And the journey you're on is not one of elimination, but of integration. You do not need to be fearless. You need to be willing to show up, to speak, to stay, to breathe, to be. Because in the end, the goal is not to become someone else. The goal is to come home to yourself.